Good evening, dear students. Welcome back. This is class 10th, subject science, chapter 3, and lecture is assignment number 1, solutions. So we are here today for discussing the solutions of assignment 1 of chapter 3, that is metals and non-metals. So let us begin with the first question. Assignment number 1, chapter number 3, metals and non-metals. Question number 1 is that you have to write the equations for the reactions of potassium, calcium, iron, copper and aluminium with water. So the solution is that whenever a metal, because these are all metals, so when a metal reacts with water, it produces metal oxide and hydrogen gas. Further, because some of the metal oxides, they are soluble in water, so those metal oxides will further react with water and they will form metal hydroxides and hydrogen gas will be evolved. So before doing these equations, let us do one important topic that we need to understand before doing all these equations. A very important term, reactivity series. Reactivity series is basically an arrangement of metals in decreasing order of their reactivity. Because we know that metals, they are electropositive in nature. That means they have a tendency to lose the electrons. Metal will always lose the electron and it will get a positive charge on it after losing the electron. So, depending upon the degree of, or you can say the tendency of losing the electron, the metals, they are arranged in a series that the metals which are highly positive or highly electropositive in nature, or they have more tendency to lose electron, they have kept on the top, and then they are arranged in decreasing order of their electropositivity, or you can say the reactivity of the metals. So here we have the series. In this series, at the top we have potassium, barium, calcium, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, nickel, tin, lead, hydrogen, copper, mercury, silver, gold, and at the end we have platinum. So this arrow shows that reactivity is decreasing from the top, and at the end we have the least reactive metals, whereas at the top we have most reactive metals, and the reactivity is decreasing when we are coming down in the series. So you can see that potassium is the most reactive metal. Then comes calcium, aluminium, iron, then copper. So all these are that we have to use in the equations. So depending upon the activity. So the metals which will be more reactive. Now why they are reacting with water? That is also a question. Displacement reaction is a very common type of chemical equations. So whenever a metal is reacting with water, then it produces metal oxide or metal hydroxide. Why? Because a metal which is more reactive as compared to hydrogen. Because hydrogen is the non-metal which is electropositive in nature. So we are comparing it with hydrogen. So the metals which are more reactive than hydrogen, they will always displace the hydrogen from the water. Or if it is some other solution or some other compound, then also the high reactive metal will always displace the low reactive metal from the compound. So here we are not talking about the more reactive or least reactive metals, but we have two elements in which one is more reactive and the second one is comparatively less reactive. So we have to see that which metal will displace hydrogen or not. So the first equation is potassium reacts with water. So it should produce potassium hydroxide. So it will produce KOH and hydrogen gas will be evolved. But we have to balance the equation as well. So we have K, 2K, because here we have hydrogen and hydrogen gas we have to evolve. So after writing 2 here, the equation is now balanced. So here, as this H2O is liquid and potassium is solid, so this potassium hydroxide will be aqueous. So I was telling you that some of the metal oxides are soluble. So what would have happened in the reaction? When potassium reacts with water, it formed potassium oxide. But as it is soluble in water, then it further reacts with water and forms potassium hydroxide and hydrogen gases evolved. But as we know that calcium is comparatively less reactive than potassium. Potassium is a very reactive metal, so it reacts vigorously with water and it also gives some amount of heat energy. Heat energy is also given out in the reaction. So this reaction is very vigorous, but calcium is a little less reactive than potassium. So although calcium hydroxide will be formed and hydrogen gas will be evolved, but heat energy released will be less. Then comes the term of iron. So remember the reactivity series, aluminium and iron both are least they come in the middle of the reactivity series. So aluminium and iron, they do not react with the cold water and not even with the hot water, but they react with the steam. That means water, when it is at a very high temperature, then aluminium and iron reacts with the steam. So when iron reacts with water, it forms Fe3O4 aqueous solution. But this will be in solid state because iron is not soluble in water and hydrogen gas will be evolved. The same happens in the case of aluminium. When it reacts with water, it forms Al2O3 aluminium oxide, and that is also in the solid form, and hydrogen gas is evolved. Copper. When the term of copper comes, so copper is less electropositive as compared to hydrogen, or you can say the reactivity of copper is less than hydrogen. That means copper cannot displace hydrogen from the water, and hence no reaction will take place in case of copper and water reactants. Our second question is reaction. Write the reaction with hydrochloric acid, hydrobromic acid and hydrofluoric acid with metals potassium, calcium, aluminium, iron and copper. So metals, how do they react with hydrochloric acid, hydrobromic acid and hydrofluoric acid? That the reactions involved we have to write. So let us see how a metal reacts with the acids. So as we know that hydrochloric acid, hydrobromic acid and hydrofluoric acid, that is HF, these are non-oxidizing agents. So metals, the first case, metals cannot react with these acids. In case of the they are concentrated, but when they are dilute, then metals can react with it. And the metals which are having a higher standard electrode potential or more reactive than the hydrogen present in the acid, then that metal can displace the hydrogen from the acid and it can form a salt. So generally the basic reaction between the acids and the metal is, acids when they react with the metal, they form a salt and hydrogen gases evolved. So when hydrochloric acid, dilute hydrochloric acid reacts with any metal, then metal chloride is formed as a salt and hydrogen gases evolved. When hydrobromic acid reacts, metal bromides are formed. When hydrofluoric acid reacts with the metal, metal fluorides are formed. Along with that, hydrogen gases evolved. So let us see how dilute acid reacts with the potassium. So we know that potassium is the most reactive metal. So it will react vigorously with dilute HCl, hydrochloric acid. So when dilute hydrochloric acid reacts with potassium, then it gives potassium, it should give potassium chloride and hydrogen gas should evolve. So just to balance this equation, I am putting a 2 here. So this will also be 2. So 2 HCl plus 2 potassium gives us 2 KCl, that is potassium chloride, then hydrogen gases given out. Then calcium. Calcium as compared to potassium, it is less reactive. So it will react with hydrochloric acid slowly as compared to potassium. And this will form calcium chloride and hydrogen gas will be evolved. But to balance this, we need here 2 molecules of hydrochloric acid. So now this equation is balanced. Now about aluminium and iron, we know that they are in the middle of the reactivity series. So their reactivity is moderate. So they will react slowly with hydrochloric acid. So when iron reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives FeCl2 in water and hydrogen gases evolved. HCl. As copper is less reactive than hydrogen, so no reaction will take place in case of copper and acid. Then if we talk about the HCl and aluminium reaction, then it will produce aluminium chloride and hydrogen gas. Here we need, so here aluminium will react with the hydrochloric acid and it will form aluminium chloride and hydrogen gas will evolve. So these 6, 2, 2, 3, these are to balance the chemical equations. Now just have a look of the 5 metals they are reacting with the hydrochloric acid, dilute hydrochloric acid. So all they are forming salts except copper and hydrogen gases evolved. And the same way these metals will react with hydrobromic acid. So when hydrobromic acid reacts with the potassium, the most vigorous reaction takes place and potassium bromide is formed along with the hydrogen gas evolution. Then when calcium, which is comparatively less reactive than potassium, it reacts with the hydrobromic acid and forms calcium bromide and hydrogen gases evolved. All these equations are chemically balanced now. Then we have iron. So iron when reacts with hydrobromic acid, which is a moderately reactive metal, so it forms iron bromide and hydrogen gases evolve. The same happens in the case of aluminium, that when it reacts with the hydrobromic acid, it forms aluminium bromide and hydrogen gases evolve. But as the copper is less reactive as compared to this hydrogen, so it cannot displace this hydrogen from the acid and hence no reaction takes place. The third type of reaction of these metals is with the third acid, that is HF, hydrofluoric acid. So when hydrofluoric acid reacts with potassium, it forms potassium fluoride, KF, and hydrogen gases evolved. When calcium, which is less reactive than potassium, reacts with the HF acid, this reactive is comparatively less vigorous than this reaction. So it will form CaF2 and will have hydrogen gas evolved. When iron, it reacts with hydrofluoric acid, it forms FeF2 and hydrogen gases evolved. In case of copper, no reaction. And in case of aluminium, we have aluminium fluoride 3 and 3H2. So now I hope you have got the concept of this question, that whenever acid is reacting with a metal, and this acid is specially non-oxidizing acid, which should be dilute in nature to react with the acid. So the hydrogen of the acid will always be displaced from the acid and a metal salt will be formed along with the hydrogen gas evolution. Our third question is that you have to write the equations of the reactions with reactions of the metals, the same metals. We are having calcium, potassium, calcium, copper, aluminium and iron. So 5 metals, how do they react with dilute sulfuric acid and dilute HNO3, that is nitric acid, and these two acids are oxidizing acids. So as we know that when an acid reacts with the metal, a metal salt is formed and hydrogen gases evolved. But in case of oxidizing acids, as they have more tendency to lose electrons, that is why dilute sulfuric acid reacts with the metal and it forms metal sulfate, because here we have a sulfate salt along with the hydrogen. So when hydrogen gas is reduced or hydrogen gas is displaced from here, then metal sulfate is produced and hydrogen gases evolved. In case of nitric acid, metal nitrates are formed. So let us first see the reactions of these metals with the dilute sulfuric acid. The most reactive metal, that is potassium. So when it reacts with dilute sulfuric acid, it produces K2SO4, that is potassium sulfate, and along with it hydrogen gases evolve. So this salt we obtain in aqueous state. Calcium, which is comparatively less reactive than sodium, so this reaction will be comparatively slow than that, and here we will have the formation of calcium sulfate and hydrogen gas will be evolved. When we talk of iron, then iron sulfate will be formed, because the main thing is that this metal, if it is more reactive than this hydrogen, or it is having a standard electrode potential higher than hydrogen, so that will always displace hydrogen from here. So we will have iron sulfate. This is ferrous sulfate, and hydrogen gas will be evolved. Now, in case of copper, copper do not react with the dilute sulfuric acid, but it reacts with concentrated sulfuric acid. So when copper reacts with the concentrated sulfuric acid, then it forms copper sulfate. Along with it, sulfur dioxide gas is produced and water is also produced. Why now? Because now H2SO4 is behaving as a strong oxidizing agent. So now it can Now copper can displace this hydrogen from this acid solution. So to balance this equation, I am putting a 2 over along with H2SO4 and 2 with this. So now this reaction is balanced. Then our next reaction is reaction of aluminium with sulfate, with sulfuric acid. So when aluminium reacts with sulfuric acid, it forms aluminium sulfate. So this is aluminium trisulfate, and along with it we have hydrogen gas. Then we have to see the reactions of nitric acid with these metals. So as we know that nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent, it oxidizes H2, which is producing during the reaction, to H2O, that is water, and itself it reduces to nitric oxide, nitrogen oxide or nitrogen dioxide. So we have the first metal, that is potassium. So potassium, when it reacts with nitric acid, it forms potassium nitrate. Then we have NH4 NO3, ammonium nitrate, and along with it we have H2O. Along with it we have H2O. Because the hydrogen produced during the reaction, it gets oxidized and forms water. When calcium reacts with nitric acid, then it forms calcium nitrate. So here we need some more molecules of nitric acid. So calcium nitrate NO3 will be formed, and along with it we have nitrogen oxide and water molecules. Then iron. So iron will also form ferrous nitrate. So we'll have FeNO3 whole twice plus H2O, that should be 4, and along with it we should have nitrous oxide. So now this reaction is balanced. In case of copper, copper nitrate will be formed. So we have copper nitrate, and along with it water and nitrous oxide will be produced. So to balance this equation, I need to put a 3 over here, 8 here, and here 3. Now this reaction is balanced. In case of aluminium, we have aluminium nitrate, nitrogen dioxide, and water molecule. So this was the solution of our third question. So now let us move on the fourth question. Question number 4 is that which metals can react with the water and why? And the answer is based on the reactivity series that we have seen at the first of the lecture, that the metals with the higher standard electrode potential than hydrogen can react with the water. For example, first group metals, I am talking about the periodic table, first group. For example, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. So all these metals, as we know that they are most reactive metals. They can even react with the cold water. Even if they come in contact of the water like sodium, they catch fire. So vigorously react with the water and they produce metal hydroxides, because the oxides of these metals are soluble in water, hence they form metal hydroxides. Then comes the term of second group metals. Second group metals like magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, radium, all these metals are present in the mid of the reactivity series. So they react with the water but slowly as compared to the first group. Earlier in the first group, the metal hydroxides were completely soluble in water, but now the oxides which are formed by the reaction of these metals and water are partially soluble in water. Then comes the term of transition metals. Pure transition metals do not react with the water, but if they react, that means if there is some kind of impurity or it is some kind of metal hydroxide, then it can or you can say some impurities are present in the transition metals, then they can react with the water and they produce oxides of the particular metal. Question number 5 is, what is reactivity series and how it shows which metal should displace the other in the compound? So reactivity series, as we have already discussed, that reactivity series is the arrangement of metals in the decreasing order of their reactivity. So metal is always having a tendency to lose electrons and hence it becomes electropositive in nature. So depending upon its tendency to lose the electron, the more electron it loses, the more reactive, the more electropositive the metal is. So the more electropositive metals, they have been kept in the top of the reactivity series. Then in a decreasing order of the reactivity series is made like this. So just have a look on the reactivity series that we have seen earlier also. So we have potassium, barium, calcium, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, nickel, tin, lead. Then we are comparing it with hydrogen, copper, Hg, mercury, silver, gold, and at the end we have platinum. So at the top we have the most reactive metals, then reactivity decreases, and at the end we have the least reactive metals. The second question of this part says that how reactivity series helps to show the displacement of the metal from the compound by the higher reactive metal, because we know that a higher reactive metal, or which is having a higher standard electrode potential, if such a metal reacts with the another metal compound, then it can displace, suppose I have a metal and I have a metal compound, then it can this metal, if it is more reactive, then only it can displace this metal from the salt solution of the metal, and hence it can take its place. Because we know that whenever a metal is reacting with the salt solution, it should be in aqueous form, the first thing. So when this metal compound is in aqueous state, for example, when iron in solid form is kept in copper sulfate solution. So copper is a metal, iron is a metal, but iron is placed higher than copper as come in the reactivity series. So that is why it is possible that iron can react with copper sulfate and displace copper from its solution, and hence iron comes to the place of copper and copper is displaced or separated out from the solution. Now it takes the positive ions place in the salt solution and it becomes FeSO4 and copper is separated out. Hence the reactivity series helps us to understand that which metal can displace other metals from the metal salt solution. Question number 6 is how reactivity series helps in finding the methods of extraction of a metal. So as we know that metals, they are arranged in decreasing order of their reactivity. So at the top we have the highly reactive metals. So the highly reactive metals are they have high electropositive nature. That means they have a tendency which is very high to lose the electrons. So the tendency to lose the electrons is very high in case of these metals. So these metals in which alkali and alkaline earth metals both come, they are obtained by electrolytic reduction of metals, because they are most reactive metals, so they will never be found in the free states or their native states. They will always be either in some oxides, sulfides, or some carbonate ores. So as their electropositive nature can be utilized in this case, so electrolytic reduction method can be used to extract these metals from the ores. Then we have moderately active metals. So moderately active metals like zinc, aluminium can also be reduced or extracted from electrolytic reduction method, but zinc, iron, nickel, tin, lead, all these are moderately active metals. So they are generally found in the form of oxides, and oxides of these metals can be reduced with the help of reduction method. Carbon can also be used and aluminium can also be used. So in case of iron, lead, zinc, tin, all these can be reduced by heating at higher temperature with carbon, and hence we can obtain these metals, extract these metals from the ores. Then some of the metal oxides like manganese oxide, ferric oxide, chromium oxide, they can be reduced by aluminium, because these metals, they can combine with carbon to form some other compounds, so they cannot be reduced with the help of carbon. Then we have some of the metals which are very low reactive. So they are generally found in the form of oxides, and they can be reduced by heating alone. Then we have at the end or at the lower stage, we have some least reactive metals like gold and platinum. So these are least reactive, so they will not be reacting with any other element in the nature, so they will be found in their native states, and hence they can be easily extracted without any further chemical processes. Then question number 7 is, write the general reduction methods in the extraction of part A, metal towards the top reactivity series. So we know that at the top of the reactivity series, the most reactive metals or highly electropositive metals are placed, so that their electropositive nature can be used to reduce them. So electrolytic reduction method is generally applied to extract these kind of metals. Like we have sodium, which is generally found in the chloride states. So when this sodium chloride is obtained in the molten foam first, when we heat it, it dissociates into their ions, and hence it comes into the molten state. Now when we perform electrolysis of the salt solution, molten solution, then as we know that chlorine, at anode we have at cathode we have sodium, which gains the electron and turns into sodium metal. It gets reduced, and the chlorine ion at anode, that loses the electrons and becomes chlorine gas, and here it gets oxidized. Then we have part B, which is metals at the middle of the reactivity series. So we know that at the middle of the reactivity series, some low reactive metals or moderately reactive metals are present, which are generally in the form of oxides are there. So they can be, some of them can be reduced with the help of carbon reduction method, and some can be reduced with the help of aluminium reduction method, because some metals, they combined with carbon to form some compounds. So these metals cannot be reduced with the help of carbon, because they will form compound with it. So when a metal oxide is heated at a very high temperature in the presence of carbon, then metal gets reduced, metal oxide gets reduced to metal, and carbon monoxide is produced. So hence in this way we can extract metals from their ores or metal oxides. For example, zinc oxide, when it is heated with carbon at a very high temperature, then zinc is formed and carbon monoxide gas is produced. In case of aluminium reduction method, when metal oxide is reduced with the help of aluminium in solid form, when it is heated at a very high temperature, then metal oxide reduces to metal and along with it aluminium oxide is formed. In this reaction, a very high amount of heat is also evolved, and that is why these type of reactions can also be used in the welding purpose. Then third part of it is metals at the bottom of the reactivity series. So we know that metals at the bottom of the reactivity series are of two kinds, very low reactivity and least reactive metals. So the metals which are very low reactive, they can be reduced by heating alone. For example, copper. So because these metals, when they burn in the presence of air, they are reduced to metals. So let us see how it happens. In case of copper sulfide, this is copper sulfide, which is a sulfide ore of copper. So when it is burnt in the presence of air or oxygen, then it forms copper oxide and sulfur dioxide is produced. Then this Cu2O, that is copper oxide, further reacts with the remaining ore of copper sulfide, and hence it gets reduced to copper and sulfur dioxide gas is produced. And the very low reactive, or you can say the least reactive metals, we know that they are least reactive because they do not react with any other element, so they are found in the free state. Hence, reactivity series helps us to find out the general methods to reduce the various metals. Then question number 8 is, write the basic principles of refining of metals. So as we know that refining is the process of removing impurities from the extracted metals as they contain some impurities at that time. So the refining process mainly depends on the nature of the metal. So depending upon the nature of the metal, there are a few methods of refining the metals, in which one is liquation method. Some metals which are moderately reactive, they can be reduced or they can be refined with the help of liquation method. For example, copper can be refined with this method. As we know that whenever a metal which have been extracted from the ore is heated on a hearth, then it gets which is having a low melting point. So it will start melting, and that it will move down in the molten form, and the impurities will be left behind. So this way, but the basic should be that there should be difference in the melting point of the impurities and the metal. Then the second method is distillation method. In this method, volatile metals like mercury, zinc, they are purified. Then we have electrolytic refining method. I am not discussing these methods in very much detail because we have discussed all these methods in the lectures. So the third method is electrolytic refining method. So electrolytic refining method, what we do, electrolysis of the metal is done in this process. So we make anode of impure metal, cathode of pure metal, and the salt solution or electrolyte is made up of metal salt. And when electric current is passed through it, then that metal first it gets oxidized and comes into the solution. The solution gains the electrons and turns into the metal. Then this metal goes to the pure metal and deposits on that. Then we have zone refining method. So zone refining, in the next question we are discussing it, so I'll not be discussing it here. So let us move on the next question. Question number 9 is, write short notes on First, electrolytic refining, and second is zone refining method. So, electrolytic refining method. In this process, a block of pure metal is made anode and pure sheet of metal is made. In this process, the block of impure metal is made anode and a thin pure metal sheet is made cathode of an electrolytic cell having aqueous solution of the same metal salt. Then what happens in case of the electrolytic reduction? We have this type of arrangement in which here these dotted lines are representing the metal salt solution which is acting as an electrolyte. Then we have anode as the impure metal. So this is connected as the positive terminal of the battery. Then we have a very thin strip of pure metal which is made cathode of the electrolytic cell, and it is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. Then what happens when a current is passed through this solution? When battery is started or a voltage is set up across these two electrodes, then what happens? At anode, the metal which is present in the this electrode, that will lose electrons. That means oxidation will happen here. This metal will lose electrons and that will form ions. So Mn plus, suppose n electrons are lost, then it will form Mn plus. So that ion will come into that solution. Now, as this metal ion, this electrolyte is already having Mn plus ions. So these Mn plus ions will get these electrons and form metal. Now this metal, as this metal is electropositive in nature, and we have made this cathode as negative. So this will go to this metal strip and get deposited over the strip like this. And the impurities will be either dissolved in the solution or they will be deposited under the anode. So this is called anode mud. This anode mud is impurities. So these are left behind. So this way we can refine a metal. Then we have zone refining method. Zone refining method is also a method to purify the metals. But in which case it is used? In case of very high purity metals, the metals which are required with a very high purity, in that case to refine these kind of metals we use zone refining method. So generally germanium, indium, silicon, these kind of metals, they are refined with the help of zone refining method. Now what is the basic principle behind it? The basic principle of zone refining is impurities are more stable in melt state as compared to the solid state. So when we have a metal and if there is any impurity in this metal, then this impurity is soluble with the metal in the molten state as compared to the solid state. So we have to take the benefit of this process. So what is done in this process? We have a metal rod. So this metal rod, so what happens? We have a metal rod. Along with it, we have movable heaters. And this rod is put in between the movable heaters, and this movable heater moves in a particular direction that we have to start from this end. Then as earlier the heaters were here, so when the heaters were here, they will heat the metal rod, and then the metal of this particular area which is in the contact of heater, that will be in the molten state. So now the impurities are soluble in the metal at this place. But as this heater moves in this direction, then this part of the metal gets solidified and this part of the metal gets melted. So as we know that impurities are more soluble in metals in case of molten state. So all the impurities, they also drift toward this molten state of the metal, and hence they move away from the solid part of the metal. The same happens as the electric heater is moved and the last part gets solidified when the heater is removed from that. So in the further case, if the movable heater comes here, then this part will be in the molten state and this part will get solidified. So now the impurities will not be left here, they will come in this molten state, and hence this much part of the metal is purified. Now at the end, what we do when we think that all the metal, this piece of the metal is now fully purified, then the last part, which is having most of the impurities in it, then we cut that part, and the remaining part which is left is having high purity. So this method is used for obtaining very high purity of some of the metals. So the last question of this assignment is methods. Write the methods of prevention of corrosion and how do these methods work. So we have various methods of preventing corrosion. So the first method is by painting. So as we know that the corrosion of metal can be prevented simply by painting the metal surface by grease or any paint, so that it can form a protective layer or impervious layer which will not allow the water and the moisture or any acids to come into the contact of the metal surface, and hence it protects it from corrosion. The second point is self-protection, self-prevention or self-protection. How it helps? Some of the metals, they are capable of protecting themselves from the corrosion. Why? Let's have an example. For example, if we talk about zinc, then when zinc is left exposed to air, then it combines with air to form a layer of zinc oxide on its surface. So when zinc oxide is formed on the zinc metal surface, then it further reacts, it stops the further reaction of the atmosphere with the metal. Similarly, aluminium combines with oxygen to form a layer of aluminium oxide on its surface, which protects aluminium from further reactions. Then we have cathodic protection. In this method, a more reactive metal, which is more corrosion resistant, is connected with the less reactive metal, which we have to protect from the corrosion. So this method also, in this method, the more reactive metal will react with the atmosphere, moisture, water or acids first, and then the term of the less reactive metal will come. So hence this decreases the process of corrosion. Then we have the next process, which is called alloying. So alloying is a very good method of improving the properties of a metal, because we know that most of the metals like iron, which is very much prone to corrosion, but when it is mixed with some other metals like nickel, cobalt, which are corrosion resistant, so it helps to protect the iron. It strengthens its properties that it do not corrode easily. Then we have galvanizing. So in the case of galvanization, zinc layer or iron or steel is coated with the thin layer of zinc. So this way zinc protects the iron or steel from getting corroded. Then next we have electroplating. Coating the surface with metals like tin, chromium, nickel, is called electroplating because these metals are corrosion resistant. So they can help to prevent the metals from the corrosion. So with this I'm ending up my lecture. Now as all the answers of the assignment 1 of this chapter are discussed now you have to do the question answers of this assignment in the notebook, and the solutions you will be getting by tomorrow on the school website as well. So till then, take care and goodbye.